Hey, it's Courier Girl. So let me ask a question. How do you know if a company is legit or if it's a scam? A lot of people will say this is a scam or that's a scam when the truth is they just didn't do their due diligence or they feel like they got screwed over by that company and therefore they're calling it a scam. I've had people call a couple of the companies that I work for scams, and they're not scams, they're legitimate companies. You just have to make sure that you cover your own bases and take care of your own stuff so that you know you're getting a good deal. All right, so I want to talk about that for a minute. Before you sign up for a courier company, you have to read the fine print, you have to know what you're getting into. Do they charge a fee? Some companies charge a fee, like a weekly insurance fee or, I don't know, some kind of just processing fee or whatever. Do they require you to buy uniforms to work for them? You know, most of the companies that I run for want me to wear a certain t-shirt or jacket or something that identifies me as working for them when I'm working for them. Most of them, actually all of them, have given me at least one shirt free. I can buy more, but I get the first one for free. And that's something to ask about. Are you charging me for the shirts? Are you charging for the hats? Do you have to have an ID badge? Is there a charge for that? Is there a background check? Is there a charge for that? Is there a drug test? Is there a charge for that? Now, I've had to pay for my own drug tests. I've had to pay for my own background checks, but if you look in the long term, if you're going to be working for them for a while, you're going to make that money back in your first couple of days. So sometimes that's just a cost of doing business. And I'm not a CPA, but I'm pretty sure that is tax deductible as a business expense because you're required to do it for your business. You wouldn't be doing it otherwise. You know, nobody goes out and just buys a random t-shirt that has somebody's company logo on it unless there's a reason, right? Okay, so the other thing to look at is reviews. Go online, see if you can find reviews for that company, see if there are people complaining about it. Specifically, type into your search engine driver reviews for and then the company name because you don't want consumer reviews. I mean, those are going to be okay, but that's from the customer point of view. And they could be complaining about the drivers, who knows? So you want to try to find driver reviews or employee reviews of that company and see what they have to say. And take things with a grain of salt. If there are, 10 great reviews and one bad one, really try to dissect it and see if the person had a personal problem or an attitude, or if the company really wasn't a good company to work for. You don't always know. Also, remember that companies are run by people. They're going to make mistakes. For me, it's more important that there's good communication and that we can work together to try to resolve our differences than that everything is, absolutely perfect. Are they mad at you because you called off on a route? Well, maybe, but be honest, did you call off on a route 10 times and they're just fed up with it? You have to look at yourself as well before you call them a scam. You could be the scam. And just being honest, there are people out there who want a job but don't really want a job, and then they blame the company when it was really them who didn't show up for work or didn't do things the way they were supposed to do it, didn't follow the guidelines, all that kind of stuff. So there's a bit of, I guess, looking in the mirror and being honest as well. So how do you know if they are a scam? All right, if somebody asks you for money up front, like you have to buy in or pay to work for them, I would say, sorry, not going to do it. You're not a legit company. If somebody doesn't pay you, then obviously that's a scam. There are pay periods. I think I worked 2 weeks before I got my first paycheck because they paid every other week, and I just fell that I started working, so I didn't get my first paycheck for a couple weeks. But I talked to other people who worked for them, and I checked the reviews, and I knew they were a good company, so I knew going in I asked them, when is the next pay period? How does it work? So I knew what to expect. And that's important. Um, so if they just don't pay you, or if they promise and then you don't get paid, or you don't get paid the way that you are supposed to get paid, or if you're getting short paid and they're not willing to talk about it, then that's a problem, especially with companies with apps, because most of that stuff should be automated. So there's no reason that you wouldn't get paid. I had a friend who was working for a company that was supposed to pay you every day, and they started saying, well, you had to do something in order to close out your day. Like, you had to do something on an app, I think, where you had to close out your day and then you would get paid by midnight that night. Well, they were saying, you didn't drop your stuff off. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. And I know this girl. She's 100%. She dropped her stuff off. I know that. And so they were just screwing around with her. So she stopped working for them. And now she tells everybody, don't work for these guys because they are shady. They don't pay you all the time. That's another thing. If you have a route that's supposed to pay $100 and you get paid 80, that's something to talk about. I would let that go once. I wouldn't let that go again. The next time it would be like, you know what? I'm going to go find somewhere else to work. I don't do business like this. I do what I'm supposed to do. I expect you to do what you're supposed to do too. So, like I said earlier, if they want money up front, no. If they have, I forgot to say this, if they have tons of fees, like, you're going to end up paying, $50, $100 per pay period in fees. For me, that would be a no. There's too many places that are either no fees or very low fees. Like, for me, there's one company that I work for that charges us for cargo insurance. Well, I checked it with my regular insurance provider, and cargo insurance is like super expensive. It was going to be like $5,000 a year for me. But they have a blanket policy where they pay, I don't know, $5,000, $10,000 a year, depending on how big they are. And all of their drivers are covered, and they charge us for that. One company charges like $20 a week for it. But if you're making $1,000 a week, you can pay $20 a week in cargo insurance. But if the fees start getting really high, then you have to look at how much you're going to make versus how much you're going to pay out, because then it starts to not be worth it, if that makes sense. All right, so I hope this cleared some things up about scams. Everything is not a scam, unless they are like real shady. They got weird addresses that you got to send like cash to or whatever to get started. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't pay money up front. I would pay for a background check. I would pay for a drug test if required. Some places will have you pay for a background check and then they'll reimburse you. That happened to me a couple times. The drug test I never got reimbursed for. That was on me. I had to have it. And some people will give you uniforms, like one, and then you have to pay for the rest, but make sure you ask the questions and know that up front, because if you didn't ask the questions and you didn't read the fine print, then you can't really say, ooh, I got scammed, because you didn't take the time to find out. So anyway, that's it for now. I hope that clears some things up about scams, and I will see you on the road.